The Richest Man in the World Hoax. Brought to you by SGT Report and in part by Virtual Shield VPN. Protect your information, location, and search history from Big Brother and big data internet providers without slowing your internet speed. And check out IdentiSafe, a new groundbreaking feature that includes a microphone and webcam blocker that also automatically deletes browser history, cookies, and can even shred files so they're unrecoverable. And use the link below to take an extra 20% off your first term. So this Christmas, visit Virtual Shield to purchase a gift card for friends, family, or get it for yourself. And give the gift of internet security. Just click the link below. Oh, the rich irony. Jeff Bezos becomes the second man in history to amass a 12-figure fortune, according to Zero Hedge, $100 billion. That is the net worth of Amazon founder and Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos after Amazon's shares surged on optimism over Black Friday. What makes today's news so ironic is the fact that I was just speaking about the world's richest people with my daughter earlier this week, and I cited the absurdity of Jeff Bezos, a man who started his company 20 years ago, amassing a fortune that would lead many to believe he is the world's wealthiest man. Like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and just about everybody else on the Forbes richest people list, all of these people have amassed their fortunes in a single lifetime. And regardless of Wikipedia's claim that Lord Jacob Rothschild is only worth $5 billion, it is most assuredly the case that the wealthiest people on earth are those that have achieved their wealth over multiple generations. And the Rothschilds are certainly atop that list, controlling the world's central banks and fiat money machines for more than 100 years in the United States and longer than that in England. And in the effort to help my daughter understand the incredible wealth of the Rothschilds, I showed her pictures of Wadston Manor, a country house in the village of Wadston in Buckinghamshire, England. The incredible home, built in the style of a French chateau between 1874 and 1889 for Baron Ferdinand de Rothschild as a weekend residence and a setting for his incredible art collection, was bequeathed to the National Trust in 1957. Now let that sink in. This incredible palace of a home was built over the course of 15 years in the late 1800s, when the Rothschilds had already amassed enough wealth to build such a masterpiece. And not just one. They have multiple castles throughout Europe, and according to the Rothschild family's own archives, the family maintains over 75 estates and properties in England, France, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Italy, and the Netherlands. But back to the point at hand. The Rothschilds were already so incredibly wealthy by 1957 that they merely gave this one away. And I'd be very curious to see the same types of residences built and owned by Jeff Bezos, or Bill Gates, or Warren Buffett. The approximately 200,000 square foot masterpiece is so incredibly impressive that when Wilhelm of Russia visited Wadston, he said, quote, "Kings couldn't afford this. It could only belong to a Rothschild." And again, they gave it to the National Trust more than 60 years ago. Multi-generational banking wealth, the type of wealth that could only be amassed over hundreds of years by people who control the world's printing presses and central banks. Surely, given all of the magnificent homes across Europe already owned by the Rothschilds, the family surely had a liquid net worth of at least £10 million by the time of construction. So let's see what $10 million would be worth over just the 141 years since the building of Wadston until today. 141 years at 8% annually would have become $516,118,615,000, dwarfing the net worth of Jeff Bezos by more than 5 times. Now, to put Wadston in perspective, according to the Rothschild Collection's own website, the cost to reproduce this castle today would be $120 million. But my research indicates that that number is far, far too low. Would you like to see what a $100 million mansion looks like today? I give you the biggest house in the United States.
Now we're going to take a look into the largest home in America.
Welcome to Versailles.
Located near Orlando, Florida, it's a hunk of junk still under construction by David and Jackie Siegel, and the monstrosity was featured in the documentary Queen of Versailles. This 90,000 square foot behemoth is modeled after the Versailles in France. And of course, among the nouveau rich, there's no accounting for good taste. Compare the architecture and craftsmanship of Wadston Manor to the Nouveau Castle in Orlando. Poured cement and steel studs, the talents of the stonemasons required to reproduce Wadston today don't even exist anymore. And Waddeston's 200,000 square feet and 187 rooms absolutely dwarfs the Seagulls' home. And a few years ago, when the Seagulls ran into financial trouble, they attempted to sell the boondoggle for $75 million, despite having sunk close to $100 million into it. So again, Wadston Manor, on 120 acres, built in the late 1800s and given away in 1957. Twice the size, 100 times the craftsmanship, and we're to believe that it could be reproduced today for $120 million? Kings couldn't afford this. It could only belong to a Rothschild. And remember this the next time you read a headline about the quote-unquote world's richest man. The Rothschilds own many palaces and castles that rival the luxury of Wadston, including this one, a French mansion built between 1855 and 1859 by Baron James Rothschild. And this one, Schloss Hinterlitten, one of the many palaces built by the Austrian Rothschild dynasty, and again, donated to charity by the family in 1905. And this one, the Palace Albert Rothschild, a palatial house in Vienna, one of 5 Palace Rothschilds in the city owned by members of the Rothschild banking family. And this tiny little villa in France. And Menchmore Towers, a home that resembles that seen in Downton Abbey and one of the many Rothschild mansions built in Buckinghamshire. And this, the neo-Gothic Rothschild Schloss, a castle reminiscent to those seen in Game of Thrones. Which really brings us full circle. In the show Game of Thrones, the most powerful force is not the king or kingdoms, it's the Iron Bank, which sits atop them all.
The Crown owes the Iron Bank of Bravos a tremendous amount of money.
How much?
A tremendous amount.
Much like the Rothschilds sit atop it all in our own world, with the Bank for International Settlements, and below that the IMF and the World Bank, and of course below them, all of the rest of the world's central banks, owned and controlled by Rothschild, the wealthiest family the world has ever seen.
And that's what the Iron Bank is, a temple. We all live in its shadow, and almost none of us know it.
And one final note. Here's Jeff Bezos' home in Beverly Hills, California, a contemporary home that he paid $12.9 million for. It sits next to a home he already owns and bought for $24.45 million. Now compare these Bezos properties to those of the Rothschilds that they simply gave away more than 60 years ago, and ask yourself, who are the world's richest people? Those that started companies in the past couple of decades? Or those that own and control the world's printing presses, diamond mines, and gold? Thanks for watching, and for real news 24/7, visit us at sgtreport.com, thephaser.com, and thelibertymill.com.
We can go back 6,000 years and see the performance of gold during crisis. We can't go back 10 years and see the performance of cryptos during crisis.